Hey guys, PS3 Game Guru here with a video of something I wanted to do for quite some time now. It is a Blu-ray collection video where I go through all my library of movies and show you guys exactly what I own. Now I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, but then I thought, what's the point? Because in a few months time I would have bought more Blu-rays and this video would be very outdated. So I thought every few months when I've bought quite a few more Blu-rays, I'll do a series of updated videos and show you guys just how the collection has grown. Before I start this video, I want to point out that I'm not a completist, so if there's a movie in a franchise and I don't like the sequel to that movie, I won't buy it for the sake of it looking good in my collection. Like, I'm not going to buy Taken 2 because I enjoyed the first Taken. I'm not going to buy Good Days Die Hard because I enjoyed the other Die Hard movies. I only buy movies that I really enjoyed and I know that I will watch again and again. Okay, so my collection is in alphabetical order starting with numbers, and that first movie is 8 Mile. 8 Mile stars Eminem, Kim Basinger, Brittany Murphy and Mekhi Phifer. It's sort of a biopic on Eminem. Some things are true about what has actually happened to him and some things are fictional. It's a really great movie, it's got some great music and overall, brilliant movie. Check it out. 21 Jump Street was probably one of my big surprises of 2012 because the 21 Jump Street show is actually quite serious from what I heard. I'd never watched it, but I knew it was quite a serious programme. And when I saw the poster of this movie and saw that Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum were in it, I thought, that's not going to be a serious action movie. So I went into it with very low expectations and honestly I could not stop laughing. The movie was so damn funny and that's why it's in my collection, because I just love it and it's great to watch it every now and again. Okay, so everyone knows me personally, they will know that I do love anything with zombies in it. So that's why next movies I'm grouping into two is 28 Days Later and its sequel 28 Weeks Later. Both really good zombie movies. I do think 28 Weeks Later is a little better because 28 Days Later was filmed like it was a found footage type movie and it's very grainy and pixelated and it really shows on the Blu-ray. So it's still a good movie, but the filming, I'm not so with the way it was filmed. But both great movies. 28 Weeks Later is the better one in my opinion. But great zombie movies, guys. If you like zombies, you'll like these two movies. Okay, so next we've got my favourite Judd Apatow comedy, which is the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Steve Carell's first leading role. It's really funny, really crude and rude, and it's just such a good movie. I really like it. Okay, next movie is The Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn. I really like this movie. It's great movies by Spielberg. Spielberg makes great movies and the animation style is fantastic. I did get a chance to see it in 3D at the cinema and it was a brilliant showcase of 3D technology. Great movie, great animation design, great story, really funny. Overall, brilliant movie. Next is a movie, well it's not really a movie, it's actually a documentary that gets shipped in from the United States and it's African Cats. I was really looking forward to this for quite some time and I saw a trailer for it at the cinema, but then it got delayed and eventually just went straight to DVD in Australia. So I shipped it in from America and hoping it was going to be a region or Blu-ray. Thankfully it was, and it was just a great documentary of lion cubs and really interesting, and I've really enjoyed it. It's great to watch again every now and then. Next is a movie that I feel was quite underrated, and that is Along Came Polly with Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston. Ben Stiller plays a risk analyst where he's just scared to do things, where Jennifer Aniston's quite a risky person, would try anything out, and they make a very unlikely couple, and it's quite a funny movie and I really enjoy it. Next is a movie that people were thinking came a bit too soon, and that was the 2012 Spider-Man reboot, The Amazing Spider-Man. And I think just the title states the movie is amazing. It's more faithful to the comic books that Sam Raimi's films weren't so much. Those movies were good, but I feel like this one was more faithful to the comics and overall a much better Spider-Man movie. I'm looking forward to the sequel, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is due for release later next year. So yeah, brilliant Spider-Man movie. Okay, next we've got the American Pie quadrilogy. These are the only American Pie movies worth owning in my opinion. The Bandcamp spin-offs and Naked Mile were just stupid, so I don't think they were good. So we've got American Pie 1, 2 and The Wedding in this pack here, and American Pie Reunion just here. Both really funny movies. Yeah, just really funny and crude and rude, and I really enjoy them. Okay, no Blu-ray collection is complete without Anchorman. Hilarious movie, definitely Will Ferrell's best. All great actors in here. Paul Rudd, David Koechner, Steve Carell is hilarious, and he just seems great at playing such retarded characters. So everyone's seen Anchorman. You can't knock it. Everyone has seen Anchorman. You've seen Anchorman. Of course, no Blu-ray Collection is complete without the Avengers. Brilliant movie, hyped for so many years through Iron Man, Thor, Captain America and Hulk, all banded together to form one amazing superhero team. This film was hyped for so many years and it delivered perfectly, and I cannot wait to see the sequel that comes out in 2015. The Avengers, brilliant comic movie. Okay, so next we've got my favourite Christmas movie, and that is Bad Santa. Totally politically incorrect movie about Billy Bob Thornton as a shopping centre Santa who hates kids, loves drinking, loves the ladies, and it's just an hilarious movie. And yeah, if you hate Christmas, Bad Santa is a good movie to check out. Okay, so I'm actually a huge Batman fan, so I actually have all the Christopher Nolan Batman movies: Batman Begins, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight is definitely the better of the three. Heath Ledger was just brilliant as the Joker. God rest him. I don't know who's going to top it if they're making a Batman film with a Joker in. I don't know who's going to make a better Joker than him. Dark Knight Rises is definitely my second best. Tom Hardy was great as Bane. Batman Begins was a bit too slow for me, but overall still all great movies overall. Okay, so I'm actually a really huge fan of Rowan Atkinson and especially Mr. Bean, so with that I've got both Mr. Bean movies, Bean the Ultimate Disaster Movie and Mr. Bean's Holiday. I do feel like Mr. Bean's Holiday was actually the better one because it stayed faithful to the TV show, Bean just a bumbling idiot, he hardly spoke. And I feel like in Bean they made him speak a bit, so it felt like similar to with Tom and Jerry, where when they made the movie to them, they made them speak. So I do think Mr. Bean's Holiday is more favourable to the TV show, but both movies are great. If you like the Mr. Bean TV show, then you'll like both the Mr. Bean movies. Okay, so next we've got a really underrated action movie, and that is Blitz with Jason Statham. And I think it was a really great movie. I'm surprised it got released direct to DVD and Blu-ray. I think it should have got a go at the cinema because it's really quite a gritty action movie. You know, I really enjoyed it. The story is great, the action's great. It's also got some pretty nice cheesy humour. Jason Statham delivers some great one-liners. Yeah, brilliant action movie. If you like Jason Statham or action movies in general, Blitz is a good one to check out. Okay, so moving on to my first box set, we've got the Bond 50 box set. This includes all 22 James Bond films on Blu-ray. It includes a space for Skyfall, but there has been a revised edition nowadays that includes Skyfall. And overall, if you're a huge Bond fan, this is a brilliant collection to have. Okay, so next we've got the probably one of the most controversial films ever made, and that is Borat, Culture Learns of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan! Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen probably got in so much trouble making this movie, but it's just hilarious, some of the things he got away with. Oh man, Borat, you are one hell of a hilarious movie. So next up we've got my probably my favourite Jim Carrey comedy, which is Bruce Almighty. Really funny. Jim Carrey plays a guy who hates his life. He likes God is picking on him, so he actually goes to see God, and God gives him all his powers, and he realises it's not quite what he wanted, but it's still a brilliant movie. It's so damn funny. Oh man, Bruce Almighty, you're such a classic. So next up we've got one of my favourite Pixar movies, which is A Bug's Life. I think this movie was quite underrated. I really think it should have got a better reception than it did. It's quite a really good story of ants and the rivalry between ants and grasshoppers. Really great movie, quite funny, good animation, looks really great on Blu-ray. Overall, pretty good movie. Keeping up with the tradition of Pixar, two movies that probably people think are Pixar's worst, but in my opinion, they're not that bad. That's Cars and Cars 2. Cars is definitely the better one. Cars 2 was a bit silly with the spy espionage theme then to it. It wasn't too bad, but I feel like it felt forced and unnecessary, but it's still a good movie and I think it's worth owning. Yeah, Cars is definitely the better movie, but both great movies, and I think they are a bit underrated. Great movies. Okay, so next we've got one of my favourite Dr. Seuss movie, which is The Cat in the Hat. Now this version of The Cat in the Hat was quite criticised. It was a bit too crude and not really aimed at kids. It might have snuck in a few things that were a little bit inappropriate, but for older Cat in the Hat fans like me, you probably like the fact that was in there. So yeah, I think it's not that bad of a movie. So next up we've got two movies that probably some people don't really like that much, and that is Cats and Dogs and its sequel, Cats and Dogs: The Revenge of Kitty Galore. I think they're both good movies, to be honest. Maybe it's just the fact that I am a pet lover, I like cats and dogs, and this idea of them being spies when the owners aren't around is quite an interesting concept. The sequel was a bit weak in my opinion, but I still actually enjoyed it to a point where it deserved a spot in my collection. The first one is definitely much better, but if you like cats and dogs, or either of the two pets, then they're quite good movies to watch with your family. Okay, so next we've got probably my favourite Roald Dahl story, which is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We've got the original 1971 musical, as well as the 2005 Tim Burton version with Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. Out of the two, I actually do prefer Tim Burton's version. It's he's such a visionary director, and he really brought a good vibe to the first Roald Dahl story. The visual's still great too, but in my humble opinion, I do prefer the Tim Burton version. Now, I am actually a really huge fan of the Chucky movies. That's why my next one is the original Child's Play, as well as the just released Curse of Chucky, which I went and picked up this morning prior to making this video. I'm really looking forward to checking this out. I'm going to watch it later tonight because I love the Chucky movies, and I've heard this is going back to the horror roots after Bride and Seed Chucky were kind of more horror comedies. So I'm really looking forward to watching Curse of Chucky later. The original Child's Play is an absolute classic. It's not super scary, it's just creepy and suspenseful, with this idea of a doll coming to life and murdering people. It's a great concept, so I hope they do make more Chucky movies in the future, because I really enjoy them. So next we've got what I think was probably the last good Adam Sandler movie, and that was Click. This idea of a guy who goes into a Best Buy and asks for a universal remote control, but instead he gets given one that actually remote controls his universe. So it's probably a live stream for everyone to be able to skip all the boring parts in life and play all the best parts in slow motion. It's a really funny movie, and definitely Adam Sandler's last good one before he went on to do crap like Grown Ups and That's My Boy. You should go back. You should take a look at this movie and see this is what fans want of him, this kind of film. So next we've got a really creepy sci-fi horror movie, which is Cloverfield. It's filmed like a found footage on handycams about a alien kind of creature that invades New York. It kind of takes cues from Escape from New York, which it's a great movie. It's from it's produced by J.J. Abrams. He makes great movies, and it's really good. I like how it's filmed all found footage style. Really creepy. It makes you feel like you're part of the moment. Great movie. Creepy. Okay, so next up we've got one of the most ludicrous titles for a movie, which is Cockneys vs Zombies. It's exactly as it's titled. It's East End Londoners against a horde of zombies. And yeah, it's not just any kind of movie, it's actually old age pensions. It's just it's something that's so bad that it's good kind of movies. You can really just laugh at it. It's just a good laugh at these. If you're British like me and you got a good sense of humour, British sense of humour, this is just a great movie. Because next up we've got actually a TV show that I feel like I'm a bit disappointed that only lasted for one season. That was Come Fly With Me with Matt Lucas and David Williams, who are most notably known for making the Little Britain. So I was a big fan of Little Britain, so I checked this out and I actually thought it was quite funny. I'm shame it only lasted for one season. Obviously the ratings weren't good enough, but I think it's quite underrated and it's still actually a quite funny show. Okay guys, so I've turned that Blu-ray logo thing I had displayed on my TV off because it keeps interfering with the focus of my camera, making things be too dark or too bright, so that's going to stay off for the rest of this video. So next up we've got another movie that I feel was also quite underrated, and that is the Condemned, starring Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vinnie Jones. The pair of them play a group of prison mercenaries sent for death row. They take part in a reality TV show where they're sent to Ireland basically to kill each other. And Last Man Standing gets their freedom. And yeah, it's a really good movie. If you're a big action movie fan, you can't go wrong with The Condemned. Next we've got a movie that I also feel is quite underrated, and that was Couples Retreat. This movie stars Vince Vaughn, Jason Bateman, Jon Favreau, Kristen Davis, Marion Ackerman, Kristen Bell and Jean Reno. It's about a couple that goes to this holiday resort, and it's not quite what they intended, so they just try and get away from the place. I actually didn't buy this movie in stores. My mate was selling a few Blu-rays. I was like, hey, do you want to buy some of my Blu-rays? And I went, yeah, sure. And then he gave me this for pretty much a bargain, so I bought it off him because I actually thought it wasn't that bad of a movie. One of my favourite superheroes that hasn't quite been done justice on the big screen yet is Daredevil. Now, if you saw the theatrical version of this, it was really disappointing and not up to standard anyway. But a year later, the director's cut came out, and it is a much better film. It feels completely like a totally different film. I actually go so far as to say it feels like a Christopher Nolan movie. It's really dark and emotional, and overall a much improvement over the theatrical version. If you didn't like the theatrical version of Daredevil, check out the director's cut and you'll be much more impressed. So after the success of Jaws, another shark movie came out about 20 or so years later, and that was Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea was a pretty good movie when it came in the late 90s, and I really enjoy it. Obviously Jaws is the better one, but as an alternative to Jaws, Deep Blue Sea is still a pretty good movie. So next we've got a Blu-ray Collection pack. That's the Die Hard quadrilogy. This includes Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Die Hard 4, or Live Free or Die Hard, depending where you live. So yeah, this doesn't include A Good Day to Die Hard, and like I said at the start of this video, I will not buy A Good Day to Die Hard because that was terrible. There's only 4 Die Hard movies ever made, in my opinion. One of my favourite screwball comedies that came out in 2010 was Steve Carell and Paul Rudd in Dinner for Schmucks. Paul Rudd plays a businessman. He's invited to a dinner where he has to bring a stupid person along, and the stupid person happens to be Steve Carell. And Steve Carell plays such insane, silly characters, so he's the perfect fit for this role, and this movie is really, really funny. Okay, next we've got one of my favourite comedies of 2004, and that's Dodgeball, A True Underdog Story, starring Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller. This movie is about Vince Vaughn. His gym is closing down. Ben Stiller's the successful gym owner, and he's going to take over his gym membership if he doesn't pay up his debt. So the pair of them enter a dodgeball competition to settle the differences, and overall, brilliant movie. A big surprise for me in late 2011 was Carl Urban in Dredd. I went to see this movie with very low expectations, and I really enjoyed it. It's just non-stop, balls-to-the-wall action. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat. Whew, Dredd, brilliant movie. So full of action. Love it. So next up is another movie that I also thought was quite underrated, and that's Drillbit Taylor, starring Owen Wilson. In this movie, Owen Wilson plays a homeless guy who's a bit of a con man. These 3 kids need protecting from the school bullies, so he poses as a bodyguard to help them out, and they form a friendship, and eventually the bullies get what they deserve. And I think it's a great movie, and I'm not surprised why it's so underrated, because it's quite enjoyable in my opinion. One of my favourite childhood movies, and one of the early collaborations of Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, is Edward Scissorhands. In Edward Scissorhands, Johnny Depp plays a man who is born with scissors for hands, and he gets adopted by a kind Avon lady, and tries to live like a normal person and just to fit in. Overall, it's a really sweet movie and instant classic. Another movie that is a bit of a guilty pleasure to me, and it got criticised for a lot of reasons, and I can understand why, and that's Evan Almighty. Evan Almighty is the standalone sequel or spin-off to Bruce Almighty. Jim Carrey is nowhere to be seen. Instead, his rival Evan Baxter gets given the powers of God, and he is instructed to build an ark because the world is ending. So it's a bit of the top and a bit ludicrous, but I can forgive the flaws and actually have a good time with this movie. Next we've got a couple of horror classics. We've got Evil Dead. We've got the original Sam Raimi version that came out in 1981, as well as the recently released 2013 remake. Out of the two, I do prefer the 2013 remake. It is much more of a straight up horror movie and has some pretty suspenseful and extremely gory moments. The Sam Raimi version was a bit cheesy and not really, I think it was unintended, but it was more cheesy and less scary and suspenseful. But overall, brilliant movies. If you like horror comedies, then check out the original. If you want a straight up, really balls to the wall horror movie, then the remake is the way to go. Overall, Evil Dead, brilliant franchise of movies. So next we've got Sylvester Stallone's ensemble action hits. That's The Expendables and the sequel, The Expendables 2. Both movies just got all classic action movie stars from the 80s who are really old now, and it's kind of starts off the whole old guys can still kick ass vibe that seems to be happening quite recently. Brilliant movies, full of action, great cast of action stars. Looking forward to the Expendables 3 that's coming out later on in a few years' time. I think it's next year's meant to come out, but I'm looking forward to that, and these are absolute classics in my opinion. Now, I'm a huge fan of Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant, and especially their TV show Extras. So that's why next up we've got the Extras Christmas special, the made-for-TV movie, which was really good and a great send-off for the series, because Extras was brilliant. All the famous people that cameoed in it and took the piss out themselves. It was fantastic, and overall I love the show, and the Christmas special was a perfect send-off. Now, I'm a big fan of Seth MacFarlane and his work on the Family Guy TV show. That's why next we've got the Family Guy Star Wars spin-offs. Family Guy Something Dark Side and Family Guy It's a Trap. I haven't got Family Guy Blue Harvest yet. I want to get it, but I'm having trouble locating it on Blu-ray, so I have to search around and try and find it. But all these are pretty good Star Wars spoofs. If you're a big Star Wars fan, then these are pretty good to check out because they're really funny and overall really, really good. Okay, so next up is two superhero movies that were quite criticised, and I'm not too sure what the criticisms were. I think they were just a bit too cheesy for their own good. That's Fantastic Four and the sequel Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. I actually thought they weren't that bad movies. They were quite faithful to the source material, and overall I really enjoyed them. I'm not sure why they were criticised so much. I actually like the fact that they were cheesy. So overall, they're worth checking out. Next to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, another favourite Roald Dahl story to me is the Fantastic Mr. Fox. This movie adaptation was so good. It took him ages to make, and it was just fantastic. The stop motion animation was just fantastic. George Clooney and Meryl Streep gave brilliant voiceover work, and overall it's touching, hilarious and unforgettable. Next we've got a franchise of movies that I particularly enjoy because I'm a bit of a gore hound, and that's the Final Destination franchise. We've got the quadrilogy here, which includes the first four movies, as well as the latest one, Final Destination 5. Overall, I actually think the fifth one was great. It was a prequel, so it sort of went back to the very, very beginning and had a really interesting twist towards the end. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil it in case any of those who haven't seen it and are looking to check it out. Overall, the movies are great. The third and fourth ones are probably the weakest in my opinion, but overall I think they're a good franchise of movies. If you're a gore hound or like sci-fi horror stuff, you can't go wrong with the Final Destination movies. Another fine production by Pixar is going none other than Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is just such a sweet and heartwarming movie, and also really funny. It's just great to watch. It's nearly 10 years old. It's just such an amazing movie, and I can watch it again and again. It never gets old. The upcoming sequel, Finding Dory, is going to be interesting, so I'll be checking that out, purely based on how much I enjoyed Finding Nemo. Now, what is definitely a brilliant performance by Denzel Washington is Flight. In this movie, Denzel Washington plays a unstable pilot. He is a drug addict and an alcoholic. He boards a plane, still hungover from the night before where he was partying. He uses cocaine to wake himself up, and he manages to land a plane while high on coke and incredibly drunk. And he lands the plane, and everyone who's on board the plane survives. But once they find out, his toxicology report shows he was high on drugs and alcohol. Some troubling things lie ahead, and it's just a gripping, emotional movie and a brilliant performance by Denzel Washington. Flight is absolutely fantastic. The Football Factory, an absolute classic. Very gritty, really violent story of football hooligans. Ooh, makes you feel scared to go out at night, especially if you live in some of the dodgy parts of England. Oh, but it's a brilliant movie. Love The Football Factory, absolute classic. Another one of my favourite Judd Apatow comedies is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This stars Jason Bateman as a musician who is dumped, and he finds out his ex-girlfriend has dumped him for, and he's not impressed, and he does his very best to try and get her back. And it's a pretty good movie. Yeah, really enjoyable. Next up we've got a horror remake that I thought was a little bit underappreciated. That's the 2011 remake of Fright Night. Stars Colin Farrell as a vampire living next door to Anton Yelchin. By night he kills people. I think it was a great movie, a little bit underappreciated, a bit cheesy as well. There's some bits that were quite funny, but also it's a fair share of suspenseful moments. I haven't seen the original, so I can't really compare them. I do want to get a chance to see the original, just to compare them side by side, how they shape up, if the original's more scarier or is about the same. But overall, I think the Fright Night remake is pretty damn good. I'm a big fan of the Garfield comic strips. I used to read them a lot in the newspaper when I was younger. So the 2004 movie adaptation, Garfield the movie, I was really looking forward to. It wasn't perfect, I'm sure it was flawed in many ways, but I actually thought it was still enjoyable despite its flaws. I think Garfield the movie was still a pretty enjoyable family movie. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of Ricky Gervais, so I was really looking forward to seeing him in his first leading role in Ghost Town. So in Ghost Town he plays a dentist who has a near-death experience, and after that he can communicate with the dead, and they annoy him and they want him to solve their problems they didn't get to resolve before they died. And along the way he falls in love, and he makes a likely couple with Taylor Leone's character. Overall, it's a pretty sweet movie, and also really funny. Next we've got another comedy that I thought was a little bit underappreciated, but I can kind of see why. That's Dane Cook and Jessica Alba in Good Luck Chuck. In this movie, Dane Cook plays a dentist who is cursed as a child, where he will never be happy. So any woman he has sex with, they will leave him and find their true love with the next man that they go out with. And when he finds his true love in the form of Jessica Alba, he has to do whatever it takes to break the curse so he can fall in love with her and be with her. So it's a pretty interesting concept. I think the problem was it was a bit too crude. Maybe if it wasn't as crude it might have been a bit more successful, but I think the crude humour actually helped the movie be enjoyable to me. So overall, Good Luck Chuck, a little bit underrated, and I think you should check it out, and if you don't enjoy it that's fine, but I actually thought it was pretty good. The Green Hornet. The Green Hornet was I think it was quite criticised for some things. I'm not too sure what it was, but I thought it was pretty good. It actually had amazing 3D, as isn't the case. The 3D was pretty interesting. It wasn't too over the top or silly or gimmicky. I don't know what the criticisms were. I think somebody said Seth Rogen was annoying, and I can understand that he does seem quite annoying in some of the movies he's in. But overall, I think this movie was pretty underrated and is worth checking out. So after the success of The Football Factory, another movie about football hooligans in England came out. That's Green Street Hooligans, starring Elijah Wood and Charlie Hunnam. Elijah Wood stars as an American university student. He's kicked out after someone plants drugs in his dorm room. So he goes to visit his cousin in London, and then he gets mixed with the wrong group into the world of football hooliganism, and learns to stand his ground and become a bit of a tough guy. I think it's really great. They're it's on par with The Football Factory. Out of the two, none of them are better than the other. They're both on par, and really great gritty movies. So after the success of the first Taken movie, Liam Neeson wowed us all again with The Grey. In this movie, him and his group of workers get a jet crash land in Antarctica, and unbeknownst to them, the place is infested with killer wolves. And Liam Neeson is a bit of a fearless guy, and he knows all about them. He's very similar to his character in Taken, where he has skills as a CIA agent, and he has skills as a bit of a wolf hunter, wolf slayer, whatever you want to call it. But overall, it's really intense, really gripping, and next to Taken, this is one of Liam Neeson's finest movies. So next we've got a underrated movie by the Farrelly brothers, which is Hall Pass, starring Owen Wilson and Jason Sudeikis. So in this movie, the pair of them play a bunch of married men who clearly aren't happy with their marriages and rather be having sex with much younger, fitter women. So the wives give them a hall pass, where for an entire week they are free men and can go off and have sex with these girls they keep eyeing up on the street. I actually thought it was pretty funny. I enjoyed all the past movies by the Farrelly brothers, so I saw this movie with mid to high expectations, and it wasn't perfect, but I still enjoyed it and picked it up on Blu-ray because it's something I will watch every now and then. So in 2009, Todd Phillips delivered a gem with the Hangover. I'm going to group this into two, sorry. So we've got the Hangover here and the Hangover Part 2. I don't have the Hangover Part 3 yet, and even though it wasn't that good, I still enjoyed it to a point where I probably will pick it up when it's probably in a line in the bargain bin somewhere. So the Hangover is obviously definitely the better one, because the Hangover 2 pretty much just copied the first movie but changed setting to Bangkok. But I think it was still quite funny, despite it being a carbon copy of the first movie. Overall, they are a great trilogy of movies, and yeah, really funny, really crude, and overall, pretty good. Hello, my name's Michael Caine. Harry Brown was a fantastic movie that came out in 2009. Michael Caine is a retired war veteran. His wife is really sick in hospital, and every day he goes to see her, he has to take the long way because these hoodies are always hanging out in the underpass, which is the quick way to get to the hospital. And because he's so scared to pass them, thinking they're going to mug him, he goes a long way around to the hospital. His wife dies, and it sends him into a state of depression. Then later on in the movie, his best friend gets viciously murdered, and since he tries to get to the police and they do nothing about it, oh no, we can't do it without evidence. So he takes matters into his own hands, and to rid his town of these group of hoodies that are just terrorising himself and people living in his neighbourhood. And it's a brilliant movie by Michael Caine. He proves he is a badass when I think he's in his 80s now. Oh, he's a badass in this movie. Harry Brown is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, so I've actually got the complete Harry Potter Blu-ray box set. This includes all the Harry Potter movies, from Philosopher's Stone all the way up to Deathly Hallows Part 2. Harry Potter has been a childhood favourite of mine. I love the books, and the films are just as fantastic. And I'm actually quite interested to see where J.K. Rowling goes next with her writing skills, because she's delivered an absolute amazing saga with the Harry Potter books and films. Absolutely fantastic. So as you saw earlier, I've already got one movie by the Farrelly brothers, but I've also got another movie as well, which is Ben Stiller in The Heartbreak Kid. It's such a remake of an old movie, I've later found out. I haven't seen the original, but I don't think it's as crude as this one. I think it's a bit more cleaner in content. Ben Stiller plays a 40-year-old bachelor. He finally gets married, but then he finds the woman he got married to is an absolute nightmare. So he just tries to find every way to stay away from her while they're on honeymoon together. And it's really funny, really crude, and I think it's quite underrated and underappreciated, because I really enjoy it, and that's why I own it on Blu-ray, because it's pretty good to watch every now and then. So next is a movie that I went into with very little knowledge of the source material, and that is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, starring Martin Freeman as Earthling, who is caught in the midst of the end of the world, or an alien invasion, and is swooped off to space, and a big space adventure ensues. It's really funny and really a great sci-fi movie. I'm actually, after seeing this, I will probably get down to checking out the original TV show, or if he came on audio tapes as well. I can find them somewhere. But overall, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a great movie adaptation of a older TV show. If you're a gamer like me, chances are that when you see your favourite video game get adapted to a movie, you turn your nose up at it. And I was in the same kind of boat when I went to check out the adaptation of Hitman. And to be honest, I thought it was a very favourite adaptation to the video game. It was not toned down. There's a lot of games, violent games, get adapted to movies, also toned down to make more money if they can get younger kids or pre-teens into it. And this is not. It's really stuck to the source material. It's really gritty, really violent. I actually liked how some of the camera angles were quite inspired from the game. So I think it was really underrated and criticised for the wrong reasons. I think it really made just for fans of the game. So if you weren't a fan of the game or never heard of the games, that's probably why you wouldn't enjoy it. And I'm a bit sceptical about the reboot just that's being called Agent 47, where Paul Walker's going to play Agent 47. I'm not really, I don't think that's going to be that interesting. I'll probably still check it out, but I'm a bit sceptical how it's going to turn out. So after the success of Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson went back in time to began directing The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. So this is the first in the trilogy. The Destination of Smog comes out later this year, so I'm really looking forward to that. An Unexpected Journey was amazing. Oh, as a big Lord of the Rings fan, I was looking forward to this, and it lived up to the expectations. The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey is a must-have for any Lord of the Rings fan. Okay, so this is a bit of a guilty pleasure, but I actually own a Hop on Blu-ray. I don't know what it was. When this movie came out, I was actually looking after my younger cousins, so I took them along to the cinema, and this was the only kiddish movie that was on, so I was happy to see it, thinking, no, this will keep them entertained, and I'll just sit in silence for an hour and a half. But surprisingly, I actually got a kick out of this movie and really enjoyed it. So I picked it up on Blu-ray because it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, and I actually enjoy watching it, especially at Easter. Okay, so I reckon we've all had a boss that we've wanted to kill. So that's why our next movie we've got here is Horrible Bosses. Horrible Bosses is absolutely hilarious, of these three guys who are sick of their bosses abusing them and just plot to kill them. Charlie Day in particular is absolutely hilarious. He's getting sexually abused by Jennifer Aniston, and his two friends played by Jason Bateman and Jason Sudeikis are saying, "It's not that bad. Yours is not that bad. Ours is worse." And you can actually see why. Overall, it's really funny, and I heard there's a sequel in the works. I'm not too sure when that's going to begin development. It might have already begun development for all I know. But overall, Horrible Bosses is really funny, and it's going to be an absolute classic in a couple of years' time. So I'm a big fan of the works of Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. So the next one we've got is Hot Fuzz, the second in their Blood and Ice Cream trilogy. Hot Fuzz is it's inspired by a lot of buddy cop movies. It's not really a parody, it takes inspiration from movies, but it develops its own story in the process. Overall, it's a brilliant action comedy. I will point out one thing: if you've got a really top of the range home theatre, then Hot Fuzz on Blu-ray will really give that a workout. For the sound design is absolutely amazing. Oh, really gives my home theatre a workout, I'll tell you that. So every time I want to give my home theatre a workout, I always pop in Hot Fuzz just to get exhilarated by the amazing sound design. Yeah, Hot Fuzz, absolutely amazing. So keeping up with the tradition of Simon Pegg, next movie I've got here is How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. Simon Pegg plays a journalist, a small-time journalist. He's got his own little newspaper company, and it's not really going too well. Then he gets invited to work in New York for Jeff Bridges' really top-of-the-range magazine, and he really is out of his depth and has no idea how to be a gossip magazine journalist. But he finds his way in the end, and also finds love as well. So overall, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People is a great movie if you're a fan of Simon Pegg's work, because it's really enjoyable and actually very funny. Okay, next is one of my favourite animation franchises, which is the Ice Age franchise. So we've got the trilogy here, which includes the first movie, Ice Age 2 The Meltdown, Ice Age 3 Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Then the latest one here is Ice Age 4 Continental Drift. They started off brilliantly. The first movie is really charming and entertaining. Second one, just as good. Third one, I actually did enjoy quite a bit, because with Simon Pegg voicing Simon Pegg's character, and there was good for a laugh. Ice Age 4, definitely the weakest, but I still enjoyed it to a point where I still picked up on Blu-ray, because I think the Ice Age movies are a success. And I don't know if they're going to make a fifth one. Probably wouldn't be a good idea, because Ice Age 4 really didn't do too well at the box office. So to make a fifth one, it probably would be direct-to-video or something like that. But overall, the Ice Age movies are quite enjoyable for the family. So next is another movie that was also quite underrated, Identity Thief. This movie, really good to see this movie. I went to see it mainly because it was based on how much I enjoyed Horrible Bosses, and because it's from the same director. I thought it would be really good. It's not as good as Horrible Bosses. Horrible Bosses is definitely better, but it's still a pretty enjoyable movie. Melissa McCarthy is just absolutely hilarious. I think any movie she's in is always really funny. Overall, if you liked Horrible Bosses, you probably will like this, and I still think it's worth owning on Blu-ray. Now, I'm not a huge fan of romantic comedies, but when I saw the trailer for this movie, it actually looked really hilarious, so I went to see it anyway, and that is, I give it a year. It's a brilliant British romantic comedy. Steve Merchant is hilarious, even though he's not in it very much. He just steals the scenes that he is in. And overall, I actually thought it was really good, and definitely a bit of a twist on the romantic comedy genre. Overall, sharp, smart, and full of really good laughs. Next we've got a bit of a tear-jerker, and it really did set me off when I went to go and see it. That's Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor in The Impossible. It's based off on the Boxing Day tsunami that happened in Thailand. It's a story of the true story of the family that survived that tsunami. It is really emotional. It does set you off. I don't usually cry at movies, but this really did set me off. And every time I do watch it, I do need a box of tissues in front of me. I'm a sucker, I know, but it's just really sad and emotional and dramatic. It's just a brilliant movie, and overall, absolutely awesome. Okay, so moving away from tearjerkers to something a bit more light-hearted, but it's not very light-hearted, the In-Betweeners movie. I love the In-Betweeners show, so when I heard there was a movie coming out, I was like, hell yeah, and it's just absolutely hilarious. So these four boys, they've finally finished high school and they've got to learn to grow up. So they go on holiday and actually fall in love, which is interesting. So a good send-off. I think there's meant to be a sequel coming soon, which will be interesting. But overall, In-Betweeners movie is absolutely hilarious. Don't get me angry. You're not gonna like me when I'm angry. So the 2008 version of The Incredible Hulk was definitely a big improvement over Ang Lee's version. Edward Norton was a great Bruce Banner. Obviously Mark Ruffalo has improved on that performance in The Avengers. So, but Edward Norton was great. I was a bit disappointed they didn't come back. He didn't reprise the role in The Avengers, but Mark Ruffalo was a suitable replacement. And this was a great movie. Definitely had more Hulk action in it as opposed to Ang Lee's version, which was really slow and boring. I didn't really enjoy that movie that much. I'll probably never watch it again. But the 2008 version with Edward Norton is a much better Hulk movie. I'm disappointed there's not going to be a sequel until at least 2016. Marvel have announced, but hopefully it'll be worth the wait, because I really will be looking forward to another standalone Hulk movie. So like I mentioned before, I am a big fan of Ricky Gervais, so I've also got his next movie after the success of Ghost Town, The Invention of Lying. In this movie, Ricky Gervais plays a guy who's just invented the world's first lie. Lives in a reality where everyone tells the truth, so they'll say things like they'll ring up sick work and go, not coming to work today. And they go, no, I'm not sick, I just hate it there. They're absolutely honest. It's absolutely hilarious that people say little things like that in this reality, and he invents the world's first lie and kind of has to explain to the people what the definition of lying actually is. And overall it's just really funny, and Gervais made a hit home run with this. Really good. So before he went on to direct the Transformers franchise movies, Michael Bay directed The Island, starring Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. The pair of them play a pair of clones in a isolated facility, and they eventually find out when they win the lottery, which would eventually set them free to a luxurious resort. They find out that they win this lottery only when their humans need organ replacements if they're ill, and then their clones are sort of ways so people can't die. It's a really interesting concept. Oh, it's really, really creepy and intense as well, if that actually happened in the far future. Yeah, so before Transformers came along, Michael Bay made a fantastic hit with this, and I really enjoyed The Island. Now, I do love a good heist movies, so that's why next we've got the 2003 remake of The Italian Job, starring Mark Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, Edward Norton, Seth Green, Jason Statham. It's got a great lineup of actors in this movie. I think it's very faithful to the original version with Michael Caine, much more modern, much more action-packed. Michael Caine version is just as good, but in my opinion I do prefer the remake over the Michael Caine version. Really balls to the wall, very funny, yeah, very good movie. Okay, so next up we've got a ultimate classic, the Jaws. Jaws is absolutely amazing. Spielberg, one of Spielberg's finest. It's a movie that came out in 1975. Absolutely looks really good, remastered on Blu-ray. The picture quality is amazing. You wouldn't think this movie was made in the mid-70s because it looks absolutely fantastic on Blu-ray. Whoever was in charge of remastering this movie did an excellent job, and the Blu-ray is absolutely fantastic. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I am a big fan of Rowan Atkinson, so our next movie, which we're also going to group into two, is his attempts at being a spy, is in John English, and the sequel John English Reborn. Out of the two, I think John English is actually the better one. It's actually more funny and has a really wacky, typical Rowan Atkinson type of physical humour. The second one actually did get quite serious, which was kind of disappointed me a bit, but it still had the its fair share of similar humour. Out of the two, the first one's better, but if you like the first one, then chances are you will enjoy the second one as well. John English and John English Reborn, really good movies. So after the success of Jaws, the Jurassic Park trilogy was a brilliant effort by Spielberg. Jurassic Park 3 is considered the weakest, and that's probably because Spielberg actually didn't direct that one, but I do believe he was involved in it in some way. But the first two are definitely the best, especially The Lost World is definitely the best out of the three. I'm looking forward to the upcoming instalment Jurassic World. I'm not sure if that's a sequel or a prequel or how it's going to tie into the story of the first three movies, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that when that does release. Therefore, Jurassic Park is a must-own. A hidden little gem that came out in 2005 that I really enjoyed was Keeping Mum, starring Rowan Atkinson, Kristen Scott Thomas, Maggie Smith and the late Patrick Swayze. In this movie, Rowan Atkinson is a vicar who is obsessed with his work. He doesn't realise what's going on with his family. His wife's having an affair, his daughter's a nymphomaniac, and his son is getting bullied at school. So along comes this housekeeper, played by Maggie Smith, who comes along and solves all their problems. And it's what is considered a black comedy. It's got a lot of dark humour. Maggie Smith isn't exactly what she appears to be. She looks all sweet and innocent, but she's got some pretty dark secrets. And overall, it's very fun, very tongue-in-cheek British comedy, and I really enjoy it, and I think it's an absolute classic. One of my favourite superhero movies that came out in 2010 was definitely Kick-Ass. It's, as the title says, it is Kick-Ass. It's in a world where everyone's like, why has no one ever tried to be a superhero before? And this one guy thinks, I'm going to try that out. So he makes his costume and gets mixed with this big criminal empire and finds two other superheroes played by Chloe Grace Moretz and Nicolas Cage, and they team up to take down this big crime lord played by Mark Strong. The movie is really funny, really bloody, really over the top bloody violence, really entertaining and monumentally cool. I haven't seen the sequel yet, Kick-Ass 2. I'll be waiting for the movie to come out on Blu-ray and check it out because it looks really good. Because I enjoyed this one, I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy that one too. But Kick-Ass is really good. So after the success of The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Judd Apatow's next movie that he directed was Knocked Up, starring Seth Rogen, Katherine Heigl, Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann. Knocked Up, Seth Rogen plays a slacker. He gets lucky with Katherine Heigl at a club, and he gets pregnant, and they are completely unprepared for it. So it's about accidental unwanted pregnancies and how to cope with them in the best possible way. And yeah, I think it was a bit underrated and a bit unappreciated because I thought it was really enjoyable and also quite funny. So next we've got another classic by Jim Carrey, that's Liar Liar. In this movie, Jim Carrey plays a fast-talking lawyer who, after his son, he's never there for his son, and his son makes a wish on his birthday that he will not lie for an entire day, and somehow he gets cursed where he has to tell the truth for an entire 24 hours, and the results are just absolutely hilarious. And one of Jim Carrey's finest before Bruce Almighty came along, which just topped Liar Liar. And overall, Liar Liar is an absolute classic. Next we've got another TV show that I really like, that's Life's Too Short, starring Warwick Davis, Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant take a bit of a backseat on this one. Warwick Davis is actually the star, playing a fictionalised version of himself, and all about how he can't get roles as movie due to his height, and yeah, and sort of parodies the fact that he only plays characters in makeup, like he plays Professor Flitwick and the Gringotts Goblins in the Harry Potter movies. I think he was in Star Wars as well as one of the creatures, and maybe Lord of the Rings as well. So like he can't get roles where he can just be himself, he has to wear some silly makeup or he's providing voiceovers. So yeah, it's a really hilarious TV show. I'm not sure if it's going to continue for a second season. I really hope it does, because the first season is really, really hilarious and really enjoyable. Next we've got my all-time favourite childhood movie, and if you were born in the 90s, this is probably yours too, The Lion King. Absolutely amazing movie. Music's great, it's very emotional, but it's also very funny as well, so it's got a good blend of happy and sad moments. The Blu-ray is absolutely fantastic. It almost looks like a watercolour painting's come to life. It looks really crisp and vibrant on Blu-ray, and overall Lion King will always have a place in my heart no matter how old I get. As mentioned earlier, I do like heist movies, so another favourite heist movie of mine is Guy Ritchie's debut, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, starring Jason Fleming, Dexter Fletcher, Vinnie Jones, Jason Statham. It's got a good lineup of British bad boys and hard men. It's really funny, really tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, probably one of Guy Ritchie's best, I reckon. Yeah, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels is an absolute classic. So as mentioned earlier, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I also have the Lord of the Rings Blu-ray box set. These are the extended editions, which I think are really, really great. Some people may think they're a bit unnecessary because the movies were long enough as it was, so this makes them close to almost 4 hours long, but I think they're great. When I feel like running an epic movie marathon, I will watch all the Lord of the Rings movies back to back because they are just amazing. Okay, so another movie that's a bit of a guilty pleasure to me is Danny Trejo in Machete. Machete is just insanely over the top, full of over the top bloody violence. A lot of people say it's pretty much an advertisement for Mortal Kombat fatalities because it's just so bloody, so ridiculous, but it's just amazing. And I actually want to go see the sequel Machete Kills because I just love how insane and wacky this movie is. Okay, so a couple more movies I'm going to group into two. That's Madagascar, the first one, and Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. I don't have Madagascar 2 because I didn't like it. Strangely, I don't know, Madagascar, the first one was great. I saw the second one, I was really disappointed, so I went to see the third one with very low expectations, but I actually thought it was a bit of improvement, so I actually picked that up on Blu-ray. Actually really good in 3D, so I picked up the 3D version, because we would definitely watch it in 3D. It was a good use of 3D technology. Yeah, but all they're great movies. I'm not sure there's going to be a fourth one. I'd be interested if there is, because the third one was an improvement of the second one. But yeah, Madagascar movies are really good movies to watch with your family. Now, I am a big pet lover, and one movie that is just really sweet and just touches my heart every time I watch it, and that's Marley and Me. Marley and Me is just, it's about life with the world's worst dog, but even though he is a absolute nutter, he absolutely ends up being one of the best things they ever had. And it's just a really sad movie at the end. It's a dramedy, so it starts off quite funny and light-hearted, but as it goes on, it gets really emotional and dramatic as the dog gets old and he just has no quality in life as he gets older, and it's just a brilliant movie, and I just love it so much. So another movie is a bit of a guilty pleasure as well. It got really negative reviews. I don't think it was very faithful to the source material. I'm not familiar with the source material, so I went to see it with very low expectations, but I actually did enjoy it. That's Marmaduke. Owen Wilson is the voice of this Great Dane who's a bit of a bit loopy, and yeah, actually wasn't quite focused on the plot. I just like the idea of talking animals. That's the only thing that really kept me interested in it. I just like films with talking animals for some reason. So I don't know, Marmaduke is I think it's pretty underrated. It's probably good for the kids, so maybe older people won't really appreciate it as much. Maybe I'm the exception. I'm quite an older guy, and actually do think this movie isn't too bad. An early favourite of mine by Jim Carrey is, of course, The Mask. The Mask is based on the Dark Horse comic book, isn't it? Yeah, that guy finds an ancient mask, and when he puts it on, it gives him crazy superpowers. So the first one is really good. The spin-off sequel was Son of the Mask that came out in 2005. I did see it, and I could see how really terrible it was. It was very like Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes kind of thing. It was very childish, but I bought it because it's a bit stupid. But the first one is an absolute classic, and It was a great start to Jim Carrey's career. So I love pretty much any movie made by Pixar. So next to it we've got Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is another one of Pixar's finest. It's definitely up there with Toy Story. The sequel, or the prequel actually, Monsters University, that came out earlier this year, was really good, and I will be picking that up once it comes out on Blu-ray in a few weeks' time. I believe it's due to come out. Yeah, Monsters Inc. is an absolute classic and definitely one of Pixar's best next to Toy Story. So another movie that was quite underrated, and I probably went to see it due to me being a fan of Jim Carrey and also a fan of penguins. It's Mr. Popper's Penguins. So Jim Carrey plays this guy who gets delivered a crate of penguins unexpectedly, and he has to learn to deal with them. Eventually, at some point he wants to get rid of them because they're just driving him nuts, and eventually they actually become the best thing that's ever happened to him, because he's quite a guy, he's on his own, his family are distant from him, and when he gets these penguins to keep him company, he actually enjoys it, and he actually enjoys the company of them. And I think it's a very fun movie to watch with the family, because it's, yeah, really good and quite underrated in my opinion. Next we've got probably one of my favourite TV shows that I started watching very unexpectedly, but just got so into them because it was just so funny. It's Mrs. Brown's Boys. I've got the first 2 seasons here. I don't have season 3 yet. I want to pick that up because I actually haven't seen that yet either. I missed it when it was being broadcast on TV. So I'm going to pick that up when I get a chance. But season 1, season 2, absolutely hilarious. Brendan O'Carroll is great as this foul-mouthed, politically incorrect grandmother. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, Mrs. Brown's Boys, so good. So 2 more of my favourite fan movies, which I'm also going to group into 2 here, is Ben Stiller in Night at the Museum and the sequel Night at the Museum 2. I thought this was a really great movie of this museum security guard that when at night all the exhibits come to life and make his job stressful. But even later on in the movie and in the second one he learns to cope with it and just looks at it as anything that is normal. Yeah, great movies. I think the Night at the Museum 3 is entering production soon, and so I will check that out because I like these 2. They're great, really funny, and yeah, great movies to watch with the family. So another movie that was quite underrated. I actually went to see it with low to mid expectations, but I actually ended up enjoying it. That's The Number 23, starring Jim Carrey. Now, even though it's got Jim Carrey in it, it is not a comedy in any way. It is a really gripping psychological thriller. Jim Carrey makes a great impression, proving he can be a serious guy. This movie is really strange and suspenseful about this guy who gets obsessed with the number 23, how it's all connected to different parts of his life and different parts of society. It's really suspenseful, and I really think it was, I don't know if it was underrated because everyone's saying, oh, Jim Carrey can't do serious movies, but I actually think he can. He really makes does a good job at playing a serious and disturbed, haunted character. Number 23, really underrated, and it should have got a better reception than it did. One of the most insane action movies that came out early this year that I just enjoyed immensely. It's Olympus Has Fallen, starring Gerard Butler, Aaron Eckhart and Morgan Freeman. It's described as Die Hard in the White House, and honestly, it was, if A Good Day's Die Hard, if this starred Bruce Willis instead, this could have been A Good Day's Die Hard because it's absolutely fantastic. It was very 90s, it's full of action all the way through, it just never stops, explosions, gunshots, firefights, insane, but it's just fantastic. Big action movie fans cannot go wrong with this. This movie is amazing. So an animated movie that came out in 2006 that I thought was quite underrated, that's Open Season, with the voices of Martin Lawrence and Ashton Kutcher. Yeah, I think it was really underrated. I got a couple of spin-off direct-to-video sequels that looked really terrible, and you can tell they were direct-to-video quality, so I didn't bother checking them out, plus they had different voice actors, so yeah, not my cup of tea. But yeah, I thought the first Open Season was pretty good. It was the first outing for Sony Pictures animation company, and yeah, I think it was really underrated, but it's actually quite an enjoyable family-friendly movie. An absolutely hilarious movie that came out in 2010, that's The Other Guys, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. When I saw the poster of this movie, I thought that's a bit strange, Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg in the same movie together. So I was interested, was it Will Ferrell playing a serious role, or Mark Wahlberg being funny, being a comedy kind of guy, and it was actually the latter. So I was really interested to see Mark Wahlberg do a comedy, because I always saw him do gritty, serious movies. So yeah, it proves he can actually do comedies. So yeah, this movie is really good, really funny, and an absolute blast. So The Wizard of Oz is probably some people's all-time favourite movies. But then late last year, or no, early this year, sorry, we got Oz the Great and Powerful, starring James Franco as the Wizard of Oz. This is actually a prequel. It shows how the Wizard of Oz came to be, well, the Wizard of Oz. It's directed by Sam Raimi, so after he finished up with the Spider movies, he went on to direct this, while at the same time he was helping out on the Evil Dead remake. Yeah, I thought this movie was really good. I think it got criticised for a few things. It wasn't quite, some things weren't quite right, but I actually thought it was pretty faithful to the source material. And yeah, I think James Franco did a good job. It was really funny as well. It looked great on Blu-ray, some of the environments, the colours just pop, it's so crisp and vibrant. Yeah, it's a really great movie. So a franchise that started off the whole found footage horror genre was of course the Paranormal Activity franchise. They started off great and actually got worse as they've made more and more sequels. It's kind of becoming a bit like Saw. But the one I thought actually was the best is actually Paranormal Activity 2. The first one I thought was a bit too slow. The third one was good, but in my humble opinion, I actually think the second one is the best out of the 4 movies ever made. I think it just had some really insane moments, and I actually got the opportunity to see it in a packed out cinema, so it really made the atmosphere really amazing. And I picked it on Blu-ray because I actually do think it's the best out of all the Paranormal Activity movies. Paul. Absolutely fantastic. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost reunite as two comic book geeks who go searching for Area 51, and they encounter an actual alien voiced by Seth Rogen. And along comes a crazy sci-fi adventure that's just full of great laughs, great thrills, great all-star cast. It also stars Jason Bateman, Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader and Sigourney Weaver. It's absolutely hilarious and fantastic, and yeah, definitely one of the best by Pegg and Frost. Now, my all-time favourite stand-up comedian has got to be none other than Peter Kay. Peter Kay is absolutely hilarious with the stand-up comedy he does. He just talks about everyday things, and every time you watch it, you just laugh your ass off going, oh my god, that's so true. All the things it talks about is amazing. So we've got both his stand-ups here. Well, this one is actually not a stand-up. It actually got criticised for being marketed and advertised as a stand-up because it has live in the title. So this is actually latest stand-up, and it's just a documentary showing how his latest stand-up became the most successful comedy tour of all time. It made it into the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah, but Peter Kay fans, these are great Blu-rays to have. So a movie that came out in 2002 that was just really gripping and actually sent quite a few shivers up my spine. That's Phone Booth, starring Colin Farrell, Forest Whitaker and the voice of Kiefer Sutherland. Colin Farrell plays a publicist who is a bit of a scammer. He rips people off, and one day he answers a ringing payphone. On the other end is Kiefer Sutherland, who is holding him hostage in the phone booth, and if he doesn't come clean and admit to his mistakes, he will kill him. And it's just really suspenseful, really edge of your seat. Ooh, it's just a horrible experience. And if you hear it makes you think, if you walk down the street and you hear a ringing payphone, don't, just carry on walking, ignore it. Yeah, really great movie. One of my favourite comedies that came out in 2008 was of course Pineapple Express, starring Seth Rogen and James Franco. When I saw James Franco was in this, I was a bit sceptical because I actually thought he was more of a serious actor, because prior to this I'd only seen him in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, so I didn't think he was actually a comedy kind of guy. And when I saw him in this, he's just absolutely hilarious as this crazy drug dealer, but then when they get caught up in a bit of hot water, it turns out to be one hilarious and great adventure. A couple more guilty pleasures here. I probably will get a bit of criticism for owning these movies. That's Piranha 3D and the ludicrous sequel Piranha 3 Double D. I'm sure you can guess what the Double D stands for. Yeah, I thought these movies were actually quite hilarious. They're one of those so bad that it's good. You can just laugh at how serious it is. Silly it is, so not serious. But yeah, I thought they were just really good, and they're just good to watch and have a laugh at, because they're just so silly and so stupid, but they're a good kind of stupid. Okay, the guilty pleasures don't end with the Piranha movies. I actually own a Project X on Blu-ray. This is the party version of Project X, not the Matthew Broderick version about the chimps. I don't know what it was. I'm not a big party animal. I've never been to a party like this, but I don't know what it was. I just thought this movie was absolutely silly and over the top. It was a good kind of silly, and yeah, some of the things they did in this movie is absolutely insane. But I think the music's great as well. It really helps pump up the atmosphere of this crazy, out of control birthday party. Yeah, I think Project X is yeah, just a ultimate guilty pleasure to me. So one character in the Shrek franchise that I really felt deserved his own movie from the moment he was introduced to the franchise is of course Puss in Boots. And when I heard he was getting his own standalone movie, I was so excited for it, really pumped, and when I saw it, it was absolutely great. So I picked it on Blu-ray because I absolutely enjoyed it. Antonio Banderas does a great job as the voice of Puss in Boots. The movie is funny, awesome, and overall, yeah, really, really good. So after Cars was really criticised for a lot of things, Pixar soon got back on their feet in 2007 with Ratatouille. This is about a rat in France who wants to be a chef. So yeah, I thought it was a great concept. He gets teamed up with this guy named Linguini, who is not an experienced chef. He gets him hired at the restaurant as a dish bitch, and when Linguini somehow when Remy gets the ability to control him, he actually ends up being a great movie. Really funny, great to watch with the family. I actually think out of all the Pixar movies, it actually appeals to adults more than kids, but kids can still enjoy it too. But out of all the Pixar movies, this one really appeals to adults more, in my humble opinion. So I've already mentioned countless amount of times through this video, big fan of Ricky Gervais. So next we've got actually his latest stand-up, Ricky Gervais Live for Science. This stand-up is really funny and really, really crude. If you're easily offended, it's best to stay away from this one. Some of the things Gervais comes out with when he's on stage in front of a live audience oversteps across the line a little bit. But you know, if you've got a good sense of humour, you can look past some of his crudeness. Yeah, he's a great stand-up comedian, and if he comes to Australia, I'm going to be straight in there because he is absolutely amazing as a stand-up comedian. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Wow. This movie. Oh, I was really looking forward to this for quite some time, and when I went to see it, my God, I was blown away. This movie was definitely one of the best movies of 2011 in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic. The effects were amazing, the story was great. The lead ape, Caesar, is a great, fantastic. Andy Serkis doing great motion capture work in this, and can't wait for the upcoming one, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, because that's going to be just as good, if not better, than this one. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a must-have. You cannot miss Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Another favourite animated movie of mine is of course Robots, from the studio that brought you the Ice Age franchise. This stars the voices of Ewan McGregor, Halle Berry, Greg Kinnear, Mel Brooks, Amanda Bynes, Drew Carey and Robin Williams. Robin Williams steals the show as the voice of Fender, this crazy neurotic robot. Yeah, it's just a great movie. Robin Williams alone makes this movie worth recommending because he's absolutely hilarious and does a great job in the voiceover side of things. Yeah, Robots, really, really good. So after Hot Fuzz, Simon Pegg delivered another movie that I thought was really entertaining, is Run Fat Boy Run. This is directed by David Schwimmer from Friends. It's directorial debut. Stars Simon Pegg, Tandy Newton and Hank Azaria. Azaria, I think it's pronounced, yeah. Yeah, Simon Pegg plays a guy who ditches his fiancée at their wedding, and since then he regrets it once he finds a better guy in the form of Hank Azaria. He does whatever it takes to prove he is the better man and takes part in the London Marathon. And yeah, it's really hilarious, all the work he goes through to prove he's got what it takes to be a great husband. Really good. So next up is Rush Hour 3, starring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. The Rush Hour movies are really awesome. I've only got Rush Hour 3 at the moment because I didn't actually really like the first two, which is may seem a bit strange. So I saw the third one just for the hell of it. There was nothing else on the movie, so I thought, yeah, check it out. Might be good. So I did, and I actually thought it was really funny. Chris Tucker is hilarious, and overall, it's just a brilliant action comedy. A big surprise to me in 2010 was Michael Cera in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Yeah, this movie was a big surprise to me. It's directed by Edgar Wright, same guy who directed Shaun Dead and Hot Fuzz, but obviously Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are not in this movie. They're probably away doing Paul when this movie came out. Yeah, Michael Cera plays a guy, a musician. He finally falls in love, but in order to be with her, he has to defeat her 7 evil exes, and he has to fight them all in very crazy, over-the-top sort of video game-inspired battles. It is just thrilling to watch. It's got great sound design. Again, if you've got a brilliant home theatre, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World will give that a good run. Overall, it's a great movie. It's really funny, full of crazy action. Yeah, it's actually one of my all-time favourite movies. So the Scream franchise has had ups and downs in the past. There's the first two were good. The third one was a bit dodgy. So after that, it went on a hiatus for quite some time. I think we're back to the drawing board to try and bring new ideas to the franchise. And in 2011 came Scream 4. It's sort of a sequel, but it's also kind of considered as a reboot to introduce this generation to Ghostface. I actually thought it was pretty good, so I've only got Scream 4, I don't have the other Scream movies. I haven't got back to getting them yet. I will get them when I do get a chance. But I actually thought Scream 4 was actually pretty good. Yeah, really funny. Not that scary, it's quite cheesy to be honest. There are some things that you think, oh no, and you just think, oh, that, and you start laughing. So it's yeah, it's really good. Yeah, Scream 4, pretty good. So a year after Piranha 3D, another cheesy, so bad that it's good monster movie came out. So Shark Night 3D. Yeah, I picked up this movie because when I saw the trailer for it, I just thought, yeah, that's going to be insane. I didn't get a chance to see it at the cinema. It was only shown for a limited time, probably because it wasn't that good. But it was a good kind of terrible. In my opinion, it's just so cheesy and over the top. It's not very gory, so I was a bit disappointed in that. They kind of toned it down a bit. So I didn't like the way. I wish there was a director's cut with gore. So it's weird, a shark movie with no gore is strange, but this movie is just an absolute guilty pleasure in my humble opinion. So as you guys already saw, I've already got 2 movies directed by Edgar Wright. Got Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But also got the movie that starts off the whole Blood and Ice Cream trilogy. It's of course 2004's Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, it was a bit of a surprised me. I wasn't quite sceptical. I actually thought it was a legitimate horror movie until I read the synopsis, and it was considered as a romantic comedy with zombies. So yeah, I rented it out on DVD at the time because this movie came out in 2004, because I wasn't old enough to see it at the cinema. Yeah, I thought it was really good, really funny, some insane gore. Overall, it's great. I can't wait to get The World's End when it comes out, because that's fantastic. But overall, Shaun of the Dead is an absolute classic. So, one of the most ludicrously insane, cheesy, over-the-top movies of all time is Shoot 'Em Up, starring Clive Owen. Yeah, Shoot 'Em Up. It's titled after a game genre. It stars Clive Owen, Paul Giamatti, and Monica Bellucci. I actually, because this movie was so stupid, I wasn't actually paying attention to the plot. It was just basically just balls to the wall, crazy ass action, with really much no point, but it's just an absolute guilty pleasure. And Clive Owen delivers some pretty great one-liners, and yeah, it's just an ultimate guilty pleasure. If you like insane, over-the-top action movies, then Shoot 'Em Up is worth checking out. So next to The Lion King, another of my favourite childhood movies is of course Shrek, that came out in 2001. I've only got the first Shrek at the moment. I did like Shrek 2, so I will probably pick that up. Shrek the Third and Shrek Forever After I didn't really like, so I will probably be giving those a miss. But when I get a chance to pick up Shrek 2, I will do. But the first Shrek is an absolute great movie, a clever little take on fairy tales. Mike Myers is a great as Shrek. Eddie Murphy is hilarious as the voice of Donkey, so he's definitely the star of the movie. Eddie Murphy alone is worth giving Shrek a look. The Simpsons is probably the most successful animated TV show of all time. It started way back in the 90s and still going to this day. And in 2007 it finally got its movie adaptation, The Simpsons movie. This was hyped for so many years. I think it took absolutely years to make. But when it came out, it was an absolute success. I think a lot of people think the story could have been better. It seemed very forced, and yeah, not like they spent a lot of time with the story. But I love The Simpsons. Always watched it when I was younger. I still watch it today, and I thought the Simpsons movie was really, really fantastic. So after the success of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, in the year 2000, Guy Ritchie delivered an absolute gem that definitely put Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels to shame. Is of course Snatch. Snatch stars Brad Pitt as an Irish pikey. He's absolutely hilarious. His Irish accent he puts on is amazing. It's also got some other actors who are also in Lock, Stock, Jason Statham and Vinnie Jones. Overall, this movie is an absolute classic. Really funny. Snatch, absolute classic. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, so of course we've got Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, Spider-Man 1, 2 and 3. Out of the three, I do think Spider-Man 2 is better because it had Dr. Octopus, and he is my all-time favourite Spider-Man villain. Spider-Man 3, a lot of people did like because it had too much going on, too many villains, too many subplots, and that's what ultimately ended the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and then the reboot came out in 2012. The first Spider-Man movie was also great. Green Goblin was done perfectly by Willem Dafoe. But overall, I think the Spider-Man movies, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are great, but the Amazing Spider-Man reboot movies that are coming out now are a much better improvement. But despite that, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are still worth checking out. Now, my all-time favourite cartoon when I was a kid is probably SpongeBob SquarePants. So I've also got the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. So I was only 10 years old when this movie came out, so I was still a kid. So I went to see this movie about 4 times at the cinema because I'm a huge fan of SpongeBob and I thought the movie was great. I actually get it shipped in from the US because I couldn't find it on Blu-ray anywhere in Australia. But I got it shipped in the US and it's region free, so thankfully it works perfectly fine on Australian players. Now I'm in my 20s, it's just a bit of a guilty pleasure now, but if I'm got little kids around, I just stick it on to keep them entertained for an hour and a half. It's a great animated movie. Next is Starsky and Hutch, directed by Todd Phillips, from the same guy who did Old School, Due Day and The Hangover. It's based off the 1970s TV show. I never watched the show, so I can't comment on whether this is faithful enough or not. The reviews said were very critical, saying it was in no way faithful to the TV show, but I just look at it as a standalone movie, and I actually thought it was pretty good. Could have been better. It was a bit weak in some sections and a bit slow and a bit dull, but I picked it on Blu-ray because I didn't think it was all that bad. So next to Peter Kay and Ricky Gervais, another one of my favourite stand-up comedians is Ricky Gervais' partner, Stephen Merchant. His first stand-up, Hello Ladies, is all about his search for a wife, because in being really tall, he's actually single and cannot get himself a woman, so he's just discussing about all his past relationships and how they failed, and it's just amazing. His new TV show he made, which is a spin-off of this, which is actually called Hello Ladies, I'm watching right now on Showcase, and it's really funny too. Hope he does more stand-ups and actually comes to Australia. He did with this one, but I missed out on that. But if he comes back, does a whole new stand-up and comes to Perth, we'll definitely go see him because he is actually a really funny guy. A couple more of my favourite childhood movies is of course the Stuart Little movies. We've got Stuart Little and Stuart Little 2 in this pack. I saw Stuart Little and it came out in 1999 when I was just 6 years old, and I absolutely loved it. Then when Stuart Little 2 came out a couple of years later, that was just as good, so picked up the double Blu-ray pack, and the Stuart Little movies are really, really good in my opinion. I really, really enjoy them. Superbad. Superbad was a bit of a surprise to me. I actually didn't hear much about it. I just went to see it out of the blue, just fancied going to see a movie and just sort of checked this out of the blue to see what it actually was, and it was actually teen comedy from Judd Apatow's company. And yeah, I thought it was really funny, really crude, about these boys just trying to get laid when they're finally coming to the end of high school. Yeah, it's been really successful, it's really hilarious, and overall, absolute classic. Now, I'm not really into musicals, but I'm a big fan of the collaborations between Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. So, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, I went to see just for the hell of it, really, and it actually was one of the best musicals I've ever seen. Johnny Depp can sing, because I was thinking, I wonder if he does his own singing, but it turns out he actually does, and he's got a great singing voice, as do the rest of the actors in this movie. It's a brilliant revenge story as well, of this guy who gets falsely imprisoned, and then when he finally comes back to his hometown, he vows to seek vengeance on those who did him wrong. And overall, it's a really great collaboration between Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. Taken, and only Taken, never Taken 2. As I said at the start, I went over by Taken 2. I'm just so disappointed how that went so wrong after how brilliant the first Taken was. It was just a straight hour and a half of action as Liam Neeson goes to rescue his daughter from these drug traffickers, was it? No, whatever. But yeah, Taken, absolutely fantastic, and Liam Neeson proved, even though he's getting quite old, he can still kick some serious ass. So I mentioned I'm a big fan of Seth MacFarlane and his work on Family Guy, so I was really looking forward to his first motion picture debut, of course Ted. Ted stars Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis, and Seth MacFarlane as the voice of Ted. Yeah, it's a great movie, really hilarious, really crude and rude. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. I can't wait for the sequel, Ted 2, to come out soon. I'm not sure when it's due to come out, maybe next year, could be the year after. But yeah, Ted is definitely going to be an absolute classic in a couple of years' time. Next is a movie that a lot of people didn't really like. That's Texas Chainsaw, which came out earlier this year. It didn't come out here till a couple of weeks ago, so I got shipped in from the UK. And I actually thought it wasn't all that bad. I think the main problem was it doesn't quite explain if it's set in the 70s or in the present day, because it's a direct sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's got a lot of modern technology like smartphones and social media, and a lot of people are thinking, is this movie set in the 70s or in modern day? So I think it is meant to set in modern day, but it could have done a better job of explaining that. But besides that, I thought the movie was great. There's Dan Yeager, who plays Leatherface, was fantastic. And overall, this movie was pretty underrated, and I actually really enjoyed it. The Thing. It's The Thing. The original John Carpenter classic, and only the John Carpenter classic, not the 2011 prequel / remake, which I was really disappointed in after how amazing John Carpenter's version was. So yeah, that's in the phantom zone for me. But John Carpenter's one is an absolute classic, full of suspense, full of thrills, and definitely one of the best horror movies of all time. Next is a movie that I was really intrigued by when I saw the poster and the trailers for it. That's This Is England. I've also got here This Is England 86, which is a mini-series spin-off. This is the first part of it. I haven't got a chance to watch this yet, so I can't comment on it, how good it is. I'll have to watch it at some point. But This Is England is absolutely fantastic world of about set in the early 80s, of how skinheads were all over the street. It's really fantastic, really gripping, really dramatic and intense, and overall is absolutely fantastic movie. And because of that, I've got to check out 86 as soon as I get a chance, because I'm hoping it'll be just as good, if not better. But yeah, This Is England is a masterpiece. Of course, I've got the Toy Story movies. Yeah, you can't knock the Toy Story movies. Where Pixar first started, and where CGI animation first started in the film industry. All three Toy Story movies are absolutely fantastic. My opinion, Toy Story 3 was the best. A great send-off for this lovable set of characters. But overall, they're all brilliant movies, and definitely, in my opinion, Pixar's best. Next is probably my favourite medieval movie. That's Troy, directed by Wolfgang Petersen, starring Brad Pitt, Eric Bana and Orlando Bloom. This is the director's cut, which is an extra half an hour longer, so the overall runtime clocks in about 3 hours and 10 minutes, so it's a bit of an epic. But yeah, the director's cut is a pretty good improvement. It's mainly just deleted and extended scenes. It doesn't make the movie fresh in any way, but it's the theatrical version actually I couldn't find on Blu-ray anywhere, so I had to pick up the director's cut, and yeah, I still think it's a great edition, great version of the movie. Yeah, Troy is pretty good. Next is another family movie that I thought was quite underrated, is Underdog. The idea about a dog who gets superhero powers is really interesting. Again, it's probably because I'm a pet lover is why I probably enjoyed this movie. Yeah, I actually thought it was really good and a bit underrated. I mean, Jason Lee was great as the voice of Underdog. Yeah, I just thought this movie was really good. It's just a bit of a guilty pleasure. So another favourite movie of mine by Pixar is of course Up. Up is just a great movie. It's actually quite emotional and at the start, but also really funny. The dog Doug is absolutely hilarious. He's definitely the star of the movie and provides the most laughs. So does Kevin, the what's it, a flamingo? I'm not quite sure what kind of bird he is or whatever. But yeah, it's a really great movie and definitely one of Pixar's finest next to Toy Story and Monsters Inc. The Walking Dead. Do I need to say much else? It's The Walking Dead. An absolutely fantastic, near flawless TV show. First 3 seasons are absolutely fantastic. Season 4, which is currently showing on FX in Australia, is getting intense, and there's only been 2 episodes shown so far. And Walking Dead is definitely one of the best TV shows ever created, in my opinion. Also a big fan of the works of Aardman, and especially Wallace and Gromit. So here we've got Wallace and Gromit, the complete collection. Well, it's not quite the complete collection. It doesn't include the film version, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It's just the short films, which is A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers, A Close Shave, and A Matter of Loaf and Death. Yeah, Nick Park started off really small when he developed these 2 characters, but he got hired by Aardman and has made a great series of short films. I can understand why there's not that many, because they take so long to make, and the animation style is just really, really great. Series is really, the mini-series, I guess it is really funny. And overall, Wallace and Gromit is definitely a great show. Next is definitely a really brilliant action movie, is Wanted, starring James McAvoy, Angelina Jolie and Morgan Freeman. It's a story of Wesley. He finds out he's actually a part of a fraternity of assassins, and he gets recruited by Angelina Jolie, and from then on it's just a crazy Matrix style balls to the wall action movie, full of action, full of crazy explosions, and yeah, everything you'd want to see an action movie. Wanted has definitely got it. Earlier this year came a little twist on the zombie genre, which I went and checked out just to see exactly what it was, and actually ended up really enjoying it. Is Warm Bodies. Yeah, it's a romantic comedy of a girl. She falls in love with a zombie, and yeah, it's actually really good. It's quite charming, actually quite sweet in some sections. It's the idea of a girl falling in love with a rotting corpse. It's just really interesting, and I actually really enjoyed Warm Bodies. Next we've got probably my favourite comedy of 2005, that's Wedding Crashers, starring Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn and Christopher Walken. There's the idea of these 2 divorce lawyers. They crash weddings just so they can get off with the bridesmaids. And yeah, it's a really hilarious concept, and definitely one of the finest movies from Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. Next is a movie that is also really guilty pleasure. It's Wild Child. I know I only picked this up because I was shopping in Sanity, and they were having a Blu-ray sale, 4 Blu-rays for $50, and I was looking at all the movies that were part of the deal. I found 3 movies straight away that I really liked, and I just couldn't find a 4th movie that I actually kind of liked, and this was the only one I saw, so I just picked it up for the hell of it. But when I did actually see it the first time, I actually thought it was pretty good and actually quite funny, and I actually think guys can enjoy it, even though it looks like a chick flick with all the pink on the cover. Next we've got what is probably my favourite British comedy of 2010 is Wild Target, starring Bill Nighy, Emily Blunt and Rupert Grint. Bill Nighy plays an assassin hired to assassinate Emily Blunt's character, but a couple of things happen along the way where things don't quite go as planned, and overall this movie is actually really hilarious. Bill Nighy is great, Rupert Grint is great in the movie after in his third post-Harry Potter movie. Yeah, it's really great, plus Emily Blunt is hot. Overall, Wild Target is actually really good. Next we've got a movie that I've also just recently picked up, mainly due to my love for anything with zombies in it, is of course World War Z, starring Brad Pitt. And when I saw World War Z at the cinema, I was disappointed at its lack of gore. Though during any of the fight scenes, there was no gore. When the zombies were attacked, they didn't spray blood all over the place. But then along came the extended action cut. When I saw that on the shelf, I thought, yes, it's got gore this time. And I've watched it already, and it's definitely, mainly the main difference is it's just got gore. There are a few scenes that are extended, but they're quite unnecessary extensions. Mainly this version is for gore hounds of zombie movies. So yeah, World War Z is definitely one of my favourite zombie movies. Now, of course, as you guys know from the majority of the videos on my channel, I'm a huge gamer. So when I heard of this movie, I was just, I just had to see it. The moment it came out, Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph is definitely one of Disney's finest movies, and it's just a love letter to 90s gamers like me. There is a sequel in the works, I've heard, which is going to focus on online gaming and console gaming, which will be really interesting, so I'm really looking forward to that when it eventually comes out. But Wreck-It Ralph is amazing, a great homage to video games, retro games of the 80s and 90s, and it's a great story, and it's really funny, and overall it's definitely my favourite animated movie of 2012. Okay guys, we're almost done, so hope you guys have stayed all the way and actually been enjoyed this video. So the next movie we got is Yes Man, because I'm a big fan of Jim Carrey, so went to see this movie when it came out and really enjoyed it, because Jim Carrey is definitely one of my favourite comedians on film. This movie is about a guy who says no to life. He rejects his friends and is pretty much a Billy No Mates, and he gets sent to a seminar where he has to say yes to every opportunity, and actually ends up getting life. He gets friends, he gets popular, he finds love, and overall it's actually a really great movie. Okay, another bit of a guilty pleasure is Yogi Bear, with the voices of Dan Aykroyd and Justin Timberlake. So Yogi Bear is a guy, he just spends his time in Jadestone Park and stealing picnic baskets of park goers. And yeah, I thought this movie was great. It got released in 3D and I actually thought it was pretty good. Some parts were gimmicky, but I thought the 3D was good for the most part. Yeah, I think this movie was quite underrated. I think if you're a fan of the source material, then you can't go wrong with Yogi Bear, and it's great to watch with the kids. If you've got young kids in your family, then you can't go wrong with Yogi Bear. Next is another comedy that I thought was quite underrated. It's You, Me and Dupree, starring Owen Wilson, Kate Hudson, Matt Dillon and Michael Douglas. In this movie, Owen Wilson plays a slacker. He overstays his welcome at the house of newlyweds, played by Kate Hudson and Matt Dillon. But overall, they actually think he wasn't that bad of a guy, and yeah, he actually gets back on his feet and improves his ways. And yeah, I think it was quite underrated, and actually is worth checking out. Okay, last movie for this video is Your Highness, starring Dan McBride, James Franco, Natalie Portman and Zooey Deschanel. Your Highness I actually thought was a little bit underrated. I actually really enjoyed it and found it quite funny. Yeah, so I enjoyed Pineapple Express because that was such a great movie, so I saw this movie mainly for that reason. And I actually really enjoyed it, and I think it was a bit underrated and criticised for the wrong things. But overall, Your Highness is actually a pretty good movie. Okay guys, so that's my entire Blu-ray collection. I will do a few updated videos in a few months' time when I've bought a few more Blu-rays, just to keep you guys up to date on how my collection is growing. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment down below, some of your favourite movies or guilty pleasures. Make sure to subscribe so you'll get to see all my latest videos. Until next time, guys, see you later.